I hate myself. Which is why over the next 3 days, I'm going to be switching to a new music production software. To Apple's music production software, Logic Pro. Now there's no good reason for me to be doing this. I've been using my current DAW, Ableton Live, for over 5 years and my brain is hardwired to work in Ableton. So much so that I've never so much as downloaded another DAW. But I'm just curious to see if it's really that hard to switch to a new software. And I hate myself. So over the next 3 days, I'm going to make 3 loops of increasing difficulty to see whether Logic is actually worth the pretty reasonable asking price. Let's do this. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. More on them later. Logic Pro. Simplified mode? So apart from getting flashbanged a couple times, the initial setup was honestly quite smooth. All my plugins validated exactly the way that they should, and straight off the bat, I was really impressed by the amount of sounds that I got. But there were a lot of sounds. More sounds available. Thought I just downloaded the sound. I decided to download all the extra content in the background, jumped into a session, was ready to get started, but Logic had other ideas. Create a new track. I don't need this. I can do it myself. Cancel. I have to create a new track. After accepting the first of many things that Apple would force me to do, I was delighted to find that the default MIDI instrument is actually a vibe. What does this sound like? Ooh! I'm feeling like a... How naive I was to think that I could just tap in the BPM that I was feeling. It's not a function by default. That's pretty dumb. So once again, I did it Apple's way and ended up manually setting the BPM. And I thought I was good. I thought I would just move over to my piano and record a couple takes. But that's when the piano decided to start playing notes by itself. What is happening? I spent like 10 minutes looking for the overdub button, which is the button that stops you from recording over your previous takes. Replace. And if you're noticing a theme here, you'd be correct. So if I turn this on, every time I want to perform the most simple of actions, I don't know how to do it. That means it's nearly impossible to get into any sort of flow. Oh, this is going to be so much harder than I thought. I was getting help on YouTube every 5 minutes. Yeah. Oh, that's so bad. And I even turned to AI for help. That's when you know I'm desperate. Select the track you want to get the display line. Go to track header, track header. There's no track header. And there was a lot of noise coming from my room that morning. Oh, fuck. Why is this even here? I got rid of this. What the fuck? But I did finally get some chords out. But all of this frustration, all of these struggles were nothing, I tell you, nothing in comparison to the next thing I was about to take on. Audio manipulation. Oh, this is where it's gonna be a problem. The second it didn't automatically sync the BPM, I knew I was in for a long day. Oh, I can't be bothered to deal with this. How do you do this, bro? How do you change the fucking tempo? I miss Ableton. What the fuck? Analyze audio for flex editing. Surely this one.
So the Flex tool is located at the bottom of the tools menu here, and it's a really awesome tool that has a lot of different functionalities.
Flex tool. Well, that didn't do anything. If I hold shift, command. What the f... There we go. I finally got the drums in time, but lucky for me, I also like to chop up my loops. What are you doing? But enough is enough. I value you as a viewer of my channel and as a human being to not have to sit here and waste your time watching me struggle to learn the basics. So, it depends where I drag it. Oh. But long story short, I refined the drums, I added a bass, and I added some random vocal sample from like a guy on a safari, I think.
Antelopes, sometimes you can meet them.
Which is kind of fire, to be fair. He says, have to be cool now, no more heat. And here's the insult to music that we ended up with. So I made a thing.
No more heat.
Oh, it was hard. It was really hard. I completely underestimate how many things that are second nature to me in Ableton that I just know where they are, which means that I don't have to like jump into menus and try and find stuff. But that's why it sounds so robotic, because there are so much random stuff and variants that I can't add because I don't really know how to. Not very keen to make it harder in the second loop that we try out to do. But if only there were a place that I could go where I could learn all about Logic in a very structured manner and just go through it and then come back in here and have a better idea of what to do in Logic.
There is.
Wait, there is?
Yeah.
Wait, they're the sponsor of this video?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's insane.
Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creators with thousands of classes led by industry experts across music, film, illustration, you name it. Since I clearly need to learn the basics of Logic, overnight I took this class by Bennett Elliott and it really got me up to speed. And unlike some of the ones that I found on YouTube, this one was actually really concise. It was really quick. I don't know why I didn't just start off with...
And obviously they don't just have classes for music production, they've got classes for music theory, for learning instruments, and then beyond music they've got heaps of other creativity stuff, and even business and productivity stuff too.
I get it. You're a keen creative. You want to jump straight in. You want to get making stuff. And that's amazing. Do it. But if you get into the trenches and realize that there is a lot of stuff you don't know, Skillshare's right there waiting for you.
It's truly a wealth of knowledge.
If we treat creativity more as a practice and we set aside time specifically for learning how to do things we don't know how to do, when we do have those bolts of creative inspiration, we'll be able to act on them way better. I lost a million ideas that session because I suck at Logic.
So, what are you waiting for?
The first 500 people to use my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. You can scan this thing as well if you're watching on TV. I'll leave it up there for did you scan it?
Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Alright, it's time to up the ante. So yesterday was a bit of a sack. I feel like I didn't give Logic a chance yesterday. I kind of jumped in with no idea what I was doing and admittedly made something a bit ass. So overnight I've done some preparation. Firstly, I've changed a lot of Logic shortcuts to be the same ones as the Ableton ones because I feel like that is a huge thing for my workflow and why I couldn't get anything out. And secondly, I actually just watched a fair few tutorials on Skillshare and on YouTube and just banged them out and kind of got a bit of a sense of like the way Logic's logic works. Haha.
Welcome to this short tutorial on Apple Logic Pro 10, a complete DAW you can use to realize music on your Mac. To see how to use Logic Pro, we will start at this point. You have to create a new. You can also open the quick help panel.
I feel ready to make loop number 2. And loop number 2 will be something more complicated. It'll be house music. The reason it's going to be particularly difficult, I think, is because it requires a lot more intricate percussion and all sorts of stuff. And I know that Logic isn't particularly good at like manipulating audio, which is what I like to do with my house stuff. So I'm going to try and make a house loop.
Who would have thought that watching tutorials was helpful? Everything felt way easier this morning. I knew where most things were, and I was cutting up clips like butter with my new Command E hotkey. Not to mention my little cheat sheet, which was coming in super handy.
Warp track, select flex tool and click. That's right. T, X, click. Did that do it? Yes.
But there was just something about the flex tool that wasn't getting the loop exactly in time. And I just learned how to use this thing. I don't know how to fine tune it. And it was made even harder by the snapping.
Bro, the snapping as well is pissing me off. How do I turn that off? Technically, you cannot turn it off.
I wouldn't say it was ideal, but we found some workarounds and we kept moving. Next, I threw a kick and a snare into the Logic sampler because I really didn't want to use any more audio. But the Logic sampler's cool. We got along. I think there might even be a second date. Definitely no second date with snapping though.
Bro, can I stop this snapping?
Even though some of these things were annoying, I wasn't going to give up today. I wasn't going to roll over like I did yesterday and emerge with nothing to show for myself. I kept laying down ideas and gradually we started to build up a bit of a percussion loop. But keeping everything in time did remain the biggest issue. To this point, most of the stuff that I had thrown down were full or partial loops, so it was feeling a little bit stale. So I added some automation.
That's cool.
And then added some extra hits from the Logic stock library.
That sounds good.
Things were looking up. Maybe Logic's actually great. Then came the chords, and with that, everything started to come together a bit more. But I'd be lying if I said that the main reason things were coming together was because of Logic. I was definitely getting better at it, but my plugins played a big role. The software within the software. It's a beautiful thing. I know a lot of these interfaces like the back of my hand, so it felt like a bit of an escape from Logic, to be honest. Now there is a part of me that feels like it's kinda cheating to be using so many plugins, but I also don't think I would have gotten into any sort of flow without them. I wanna say but I was about to go somewhere that only Logic could save me.
No! Logic. Does Logic have autosave? Does Logic have autosave? Does Yeah! I definitely got something cooler than the first attempt, but holy fuck, there are so many things that I know I could make better, and I know how I would make them better, but they just take so long to do because either Logic's just weird or because I don't know how to do stuff quickly yet. So this is what we have. I mean, it could have been worse. Dude, I would shorten and change the hi-hats in the drop. I would add some melody in the drop. I would add some details. I would completely wash out and then group and fucking like wah 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 the things and to push them back in the mix. I would add some automation to make that actual drop actually a thing. God, there's so many things I would do, but every single one of those things would take me like fucking 10 minutes to figure out, and I just don't got that time, man. Fuck this program.
Going into day 3, I was honestly feeling pretty creatively depleted. I know at the beginning I said, haha, this will be so easy, but I'm not an idiot. I knew this would be difficult, but what I didn't expect to be so difficult was trying to create something new while learning Logic. I needed a little bit of a break. I needed to go outside. I needed to look at the sky and walk around in nature and just free my brain from the Flex tool. Okay, that's enough. Since the last loop that I did was just so easy, I've decided it'd be a great idea to remove the one thing that was keeping me sane, my plugins and Splice. So for this last tune, I'm just going to be using Logic stock plugins and stock sounds from the libraries to get the full Logic experience, you know? Maybe that's what I've been missing. Maybe I just needed to be using Logic like Logic was meant to be used. Yeah, right. My creative juices have entirely run out. I think Logic and this whole workflow thing has completely sapped them. So instead of trying to make something completely new from scratch, which has been killing me, I'm going to try and recreate the chorus from my song Wrists as accurately as I possibly can, just using these Logic stock plugins and stuff.
Feel the life I've undone in 30 minutes.
Oh my God!
See you right through your clothes.
Oh yeah, and I am also removing my entire setup, which was also quite useful to have. Let's do this! Oh, I just searched up Ableton by Reflex because I was about to make music. That made me really sad. So it's safe to say I wasn't really having it this morning. Oh, Logic's so colourful. Where the fuck are the colours, bro? I started off by dragging in the vocals and the MIDI for the chords. I'm not doing that from scratch. First, I replicated the processing on the ad-libs, which was kind of hard because the Logic EQ did not have the preset that I wanted. The fuck is that? So I made one myself, but then I needed some auto-tune. What the fuck is this, bro? It may have looked like shit, but for what I was going for, it actually sounded pretty good.
I'm actually kind of impressed by Logic there. Next was the piano, and again, the Logic stock stuff just didn't disappoint. Things were actually going well, so I locked in. I pushed on. I spent an hour or so constructing the percussion from loops and one-shots from the browser and doing some basic processing.
Dude, these samples are pretty good.
There we go. And yes, I had to deal with a couple archaic looking plugins, but it didn't matter so much because the sounds I was dealing with were so clean. After the drums were done, I moved on to doing the bass, and since I had such a great experience with the Logic sounds, I assumed that Logic would also have some amazing synth bass presets. But I wasn't going to let that stop me. I was in a zone.
Why don't I just make a new one? Okay, so what do we have here? We have A, B, C, D oscillators, I assume.
And with a little bit of focus and determination and a little bit more distortion, by the end, I had something that I thought kind of sounded like the original.
Feel the life I've undone in 30 minutes last night, and I can see you right through your clothes. There's something
Sounds pretty accurate.
I know, but is it really worth all that crying?
For completely stock sounds on Logic and completely stock plugins, I was able to do pretty much everything I wanted to do, which is really impressive.
So after that experience, will I be switching to Logic Pro as my main DAW? Are you an idiot? Is Logic Pro better than Ableton? I can't answer that question because I don't know how to use Logic Pro. Most of the frustrations I found while trying to make music on it weren't actually realistically due to like it being a bad DAW or anything. It was literally just because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing half the time. I can't remember the last time making music felt that frustrating. Every time I'd want to do the most simple action, I would have to go online and spend like a minute or two searching it up and finding some tutorial for some dude to bail me out. So cons, the Flex tool. Oh, the Flex tool. What is that? I know Ableton's the industry standard and blah, 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 but fix the Flex tool. It's really annoying. Automation. Selecting a parameter within a plugin to automate is the most painful process ever. I don't know which band it is. What's that? It's a band. I hate it. I hate it. And then the pop-ups. The pop-ups. Every time I would do anything, Logic would jump in my face and tell me that there was something I needed to confirm or deny.
Logic, what do you want from me?
Just do the thing and tell me after, okay? Then buses. Why does it have reverb on it? I didn't put reverb on it. I know that this is not just a Logic thing, this is like a Pro Tools and like an everything thing. It's raining. But buses, what is the point of them? I know that back in the day we used to have a console and we used to have like a physical shit where like you'd move stuff like Dr. Dre, but like just group stuff. Why can't we just use groups? I guess we can, but having buses there is annoying. All right, now for pros, let's be a bit more positive. The library. The library's amazing too. The library is pretty intuitive. 3. The library comes with Logic. The library is definitely the main draw to Logic, and I understand why it is. I know Ableton's got like the core library or whatever, and there are definitely some hidden gems in there, but that's the key word, hidden. They're so hard to find that you have to dig through different menus to find them. Logic's is better, and I like it. So yeah, if you're just starting out, for the money, I reckon Logic is an amazing deal at $2.99 Australian, because you get free updates, unlike Ableton, which decides to update it every like 2 or 3 years, and then you pay a fucking huge fee, even if you just spent $1,000. But overall, Logic gets, for me, out of 10, Logic gets a 3 out of 10. That's factoring in my incompetence. If we remove the fact that I don't actually know how to use it, I'd give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. I know you're in the comments, you don't need to get into the comments. Get out of the comments. I guess the whole message to take away from this is that the best tool is the one you know how to use. I won't be switching to Logic, and if you use a different DAW, don't switch to another DAW. Like, it's just not worth it. If you know how to use what you're using and there are no problems, just don't switch. Anyway, that's it for me. Have a good day, and goodbye.